But having had 2% for so long, give or take, and then 9%, and then 3% on top of the 9%, I wouldn't mind if we came back down to the level where the 2% were. That I'm okay with. That I think is where we need to be heading. And that is why I say we do need some disinflation. The US is in some serious financial trouble, and that's because the Three Stooges are running the show. Or at least that's what Rich Dad Poor Dad would say. Robert Kiyosaki says, inflation and incompetence is here to stay. Now, before I dive deep into this, right, I have read several of the Rich Dad Poor Dad books. I think that he's onto something, but he's also a doom and gloomer. He's been calling for the collapse of the U.S. economy for decades at this point. He even had a book, I forget what it was called, The Rich Dad Prophecy, where he was like, at some point, the baby boomers are going to retire. They're going to take all their money out of the stock market when they retire, and everything's going to crash and burn. That hasn't happened yet. And I think that book came out in like 2009, 2013, somewhere in that around that frame, right? It's been decades since that book came out, and it hasn't happened yet. So, granted, I do think Robert Kiyosaki can be a little bit of a pessimist, just a tiny bit of a pessimist. But let's go on to see what he has to say here. I hate to say this because I love America, but America is in some serious trouble financially because of the debt load. Rich Dad Company co-founder says during his appearance on Coast to Coast the other day. I think the biggest problem, Neil, is that we have the Three Stooges. One in the presidency, one in the Treasury, and one at the Fed. So he's talking about Joe Biden, Janet Yellen, and Jerome Powell there. America is broke right now. Well, not only is America, the country, broke right now, but inflation has not come down. And inflation is hitting everybody's pocketbooks. And I'm a big nerd, so I follow a lot of this economic activity. And I saw somebody put out a video the other day about how awful it will be if we have deflation. And I don't know. Personally, I think that it's okay if the price of my home, if the home value that I'm in right now comes down some. I'm okay with that because it would help a hell of a lot of people right now to have the cost of everything else go down as well. I'm not one of these people who says we need to have inflation always and forever. 2% inflation is what we're looking for. At least that's what the Fed says. Something sustainable and under control. But having had, 2% for so long, give or take, and then 9%, and then 3% on top of the 9%, I wouldn't mind if we came back down to the level where the 2% were. That I'm okay with. That I think is where we need to be heading. And that is why I say we do need some disinflation. We do need some deflation, right? In September, the U.S. national debt topped $33 million for the first time ever, crossing a critical milestone when the government spending is already under scrutiny. All you have to do is look at the history. Every time they printed money, the empire went down. In the latest Fox News poll, I'm asking Americans about the state of the economy. Just 29% of the respondents said the economy has started to turn around, while 67% say the worst has yet to come. Hey, if you're just tuning in, my name is Christopher Yule, and we cover the biggest headlines of the day and what the AI trading data has to say about it. So if you're interested in that, be sure to definitely hit the subscribe button down below and start trading with AI today. Head to ovtlyr.com to see why outliers win. And I understand why 67% of people say the worst is yet to come. I don't think we've actually hit the wall where things are turning around and getting worse yet, right? Just go to any auto dealer. Right? Walk onto the lot of any car dealer. You're still going to see $100,000 trucks. Just a few years ago, those were $50,000 trucks. My dad bought a 2019 GMC when it was brand new, and I think he paid $46,000. That thing is loaded out. That same truck today is pushing $70,000. Then the interest rates have tripled, nearly tripled in some cases. So the cost of the truck is nearly doubled. The cost to finance it is nearly tripled. And anybody who would have bought this truck can't afford it now. So the only way for the economy to get better is for prices to come back down, because interest rates aren't coming down anytime soon. So the only way to find a buyer is for the prices to come back down. But on the other side of that coin, if companies have built their reputations, have built their products, have built the UAW with selling $70,000 trucks, and then they need to lower the prices, you know what happens next is that they can't sell enough to pay for the labor. And then unemployment starts to go up, and then layoffs start to happen. And then we have some real economic problems. So this is a delicate fine line here. And of course, I think that Robert Kiyosaki is jumping at the far end of the curve saying, everything is screwed, everything is done for, we got nothing we can do. Sebastian, one of my friends Sebastian showed up today. Glad to see you, man. So where are we at these days in the American economy? I think the worst is still to come, but I don't think we're looking at 1929 depression levels. I don't even think we're looking at 2008 recession levels. I think we're looking at a correction, right? Yes, asset prices are going to need to come down to find buyers, but that doesn't mean the world is ending. People have been stretched for so long, and the real thing that I think is going to be the big catalyst, right? The match that starts the fire, I think it's when people run out of credit card limit, because credit card debt is hitting new all-time highs. Once the credit card limits are being hit and people cannot sustain their lifestyles, I think that is the point where things are going to start to turn around, because people are going to stop buying. They're going to say, you know what? I can't buy anything else. My credit card's maxed out and I have a 30% interest rate on this credit card. We got to make some major changes. So the first thing we're going to do is cut back on spending. That's the point where I think the economy is actually going to start turning around. So let's take a look at what the AI trading data has to say on the American economy and the S&P 500, right? We just got a sell signal 2 days ago, December 4th on the S&P 500. So if you are already in the S&P 500, now may be the time to take your profits and hang out on the sidelines until things kind of settle down. And if you've been following these signal returns, you would have seen a 108.25% return, which is not too shabby at all. And if you want to get your hands on these AI trading data signals, be sure to head to obtlyr.com to see how outliers win. Now let's take a look to see what the comments are going to say. I am sure that these are going to be very, very strongly worded. This person says, agree, the U.S. will go bankrupt and bad things will happen. The United States of America has been grossly mismanaged since the end of World War II, blah, 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 blah. Oh, some of these people, sometimes I think they just get everything that they could want in a day by just venting on the internet. Let's see what it says here. If the collapse, it's a collapse. It's not if, but when the collapse occurs, right? This economic collapse will be the worst of history, by far worse than the Depression. Millions died in the Depression, and the same will happen again. Perhaps billions will die worldwide. Look, I don't know if that's the case. I really don't think so. I don't think that we're going to be looking at any sort of billion-person issue that's going to take out a third of the population of the entire world. No, I don't think so. I think we're going to have a strong pullback, a strong correction, and then things are going to settle down unless we have some real geopolitical war type of concerns to worry about, which is beyond the scope of what I can handle here. But let me know, what is YouTube showing you right here? It's going to be showing you 2 videos, and it thinks that these are going to be the best videos that you have seen all day long. So be sure to click one of those to watch more, and I'll see you on the next episode. Talk soon.